Hey guys, it's Littlefoot Nursery. I wanted to hop on today to show a couple babies who are part of my daughter's collection. And these are actually two reborns that I painted. This one on the left here is baby Sabrina. She is the Dumplin sculpt by Donna RuBert. And the one on the right is Megan, and she is the Megan sculpt. Oh shoot, and I forget which sculpt, which was who the artist is of the Megan sculpt, but she's also a Bountiful Baby kit. Um, Megan was a recent baby that I made before I made Cheyenne, and Sabrina is actually the third baby, no, the fourth baby that I made technically, if you count Rachel, who's the little 10-inch baby. So yes, I wanted to go ahead and just make a video, and I'm going to change them while I do this. And I'm going to try to also chat about a topic that I saw on Inez's channel, Don't Worry Reborn Baby Collective. And she decided to do a video inspired by a video she saw on Ruby Rose Reborn's channel. And so basically the kind of title of the original video was something along the lines of like paying your dues, as a new, artist, and basically kind of talking about like, as artists, do we kind of like in terms of pricing our work, when to sell our work, and then do some artists plateau and then they're just kind of content with their work being at the level that it is, or are they constantly trying to get better and better and have their work rival, aspire to rival the work of, the really, top artists out there, like the prototype artists. I thought it was an excellent topic, and I was about to write a really long response in the comment section. I thought, you know what, I think I should just make a video. It'll be better because I think there's just too much to say for a comment. So it's definitely something I've thought about too. I'm still very new to painting, and I do strive to improve with each baby and try to learn new techniques. These two babies were actually painted with different techniques. I'm going to go ahead and change baby Sabrina first. I'll have Megan just kind of hang out here next to me while I do that. I'm going to change Sabrina into a white onesie and put this super cute like floral romper over her. I think she'll look really, really adorable with that. So I'm going to go ahead and change her. Yeah, and I guess like my response, to I guess the tag or the video or the question posed is, I do think that, I do agree there is a difference between being a hobbyist and kind of a true artist. But I would say it's a little bit just kind of how you define art and how do you define, what's a hobby, what's an art. Because I know a lot of the professional artists out there, they don't necessarily do this full time or for a full-time living. And, I don't know what constitutes a professional artist from just a regular artist. But I think the lines can definitely be blurred. I don't think you need to wait until, your dolls are kind of at a level that, are quote unquote good enough to sell. The early babies that I painted definitely had a lot of boo-boos. We did end up deciding just to keep those because I didn't really think it was worth selling them, just given all the errors. And I felt like, I didn't want to, have a bad quality doll out there in the market. So I'd rather just keep those and hopefully as like just a reminder of how far I've come, once I improved. So that was the reason I didn't sell the first couple babies. Sabrina, who I have here, she's a doll that I felt was good enough to sell. I'm actually, I started painting hair really early, just even starting with my first baby. I really, really love how her painted hair turned out. And I've got a lot of, and I did get some really nice compliments on her painted hair. And I think I have a little bit of a knack for painting hair, and I really, truly enjoy it. So, I think she was a doll that I could have sold, but I decided to keep. I just really love this baby, and Audrey really loves her too. So And, but yeah, I do think it's okay to sell your boo-boo babies. I do. You know, I think as long as you disclose the flaws, someone out there, there are a lot of people out there who want a less expensive reborn. Like they see the beautiful ones that cost thousands of dollars and think to themselves, yeah, you know, I can't afford that. And they would be willing to accept a baby that has flaws. And and so, you know, and sometimes you can find, you know, boo-boo babies on eBay for even like some, in some cases, like less than $100 or in the $100 range versus in the, you know, higher ranges. And so, but yeah, I think that just because a doll isn't as well done as another doll doesn't mean that somebody wouldn't adopt that baby and love it. But you know, you know, I think that there's also a different price. There's different price points for all sorts of buyers. So I don't think. So I would say that, you know, you don't necessarily have to wait until you feel like your doll can sell for, you know, 500, 700, 900, 1,000 plus dollars before you start selling babies, because there is a market for babies that are a little bit more affordable. The truth is, I think a lot of people out there can't afford the higher price point babies, and so and they would love to have a baby that is maybe $200 or $300, and so that's just kind of some of my thoughts in terms of like when to sell your work. You know, I do understand the point of, you know, you may not want to start like selling your work and then, you know, have your work get better and then feel like, oh shoot, there's a, you know, baby out there bearing kind of my name, or that this is one of my works of art out there that is not as good. I can kind of understand that, but you know, I think like any artist, you know, you should hopefully improve in the future. And you know, maybe right now your dolls might not sell for as much, but you know, if you do get better and more skilled, you know, you can justify the higher price points. And you know, I think that I've seen on a couple channels just some comments about like, yeah, there are definitely some dolls out there that aren't so well done, and you know, they're still trying to charge the higher price tags for those babies. And you know, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, as buyers, it's up to us to be discerning and use our eyes and, you know, request close-up pictures. You know, we have to, sellers, you know, the art of, you know, reborn pricing is extremely subjective. So, you know, I think sellers can kind of just put whatever price they feel they want to ask for, and you know, see if it sells at that price or not. But I think that buyers, you know, who are looking at that baby and comparing it with, you know, multiple other listings, the doll is really worth what the buyer is willing to pay for it. And so, you know, so I think at the end of the day, in terms of like, you know, when to sell babies, you know, that is kind of definitely my comment on that. Like, I think it's totally fine, like, to sell the boo-boo babies, because, you know, this is an expensive hobby, and if you just keep painting kit after kit and you never sell any, just waiting for, you know, waiting to get to a point where you can at least, you know, feel like, okay, this is a doll that I would feel like okay selling and not be embarrassed to show us my work. You know, maybe it would take a while before you feel like you're at that point where you're ready to do that. And, you know, I definitely know that, you know, my work, I think my work is pretty decent, but I know it's not, you know, it's not Melissa George, or it's not Mary Anderson, and, you know, some of these artists that I really, were, you know, or I don't know, Angela Plica, or, you know, these artists who are like prototype artists. I absolutely know that, you know, but I do think that it's still okay for me to sell my work. And, you know, I know that I'm just not going to charge as high of a price point, but I think you get a nice baby for the price that you pay. So, yeah, so I personally think that's kind of just my personal thoughts in terms of, you know, opinion on the subject, because these kits are really expensive, and as an artist, you want to recoup your costs so you can keep buying more kits and continuing to practice and paint more babies so you can hopefully get better and better and improve. I definitely don't feel content that like, oh great, I've like kind of reached like my pinnacle of artistry. Not at all. I definitely don't think that at all. But I do think that, you know, with each baby, hopefully I'm getting better and better and, you know, experimenting with new techniques, new colors. Like, for example, Megan, who I painted, she was a baby I painted at the Rose Doll Show air dry class, and she won second place in the class out of, you know, there were only 9 babies. It wasn't like a huge class or anything like that. But, you know, I was really encouraged because I think I might have been one of the newer people there. There are so many ladies there who've been painting for years and years and been doing this a long time. And so, you know, the fact that she won second, it was complete unbiased judging by, Denise Pratt, who came in, you know, at the end of the class to judge our babies. That was really encouraging for me. I really loved like how her lips turned out. I mean, I actually did painted hair, like actually Prismacolor hair in the class. And normally if I were at home painting this baby, I would have gone over it with paint and made it, you know, did more layers and made it darker. But I wanted to just keep her exactly how I did it in the class, just to show you guys. The only change I made was when I got home, I went ahead and restuffed her, weighted her, because she was not stuffed and weighted. And she was stuffed just with polyfill, but no glass beads. So I wanted to weight her and have her really, you know, be the way I would weight a reborn. So, yeah, so these are, so, you know, in terms of, yeah, paying your dues, no, I definitely agree. Like, you know, when you're just starting off, you probably shouldn't be charging like $800 or $600 for your work. Although I will say this, there was one artist who is a brand new artist, and she posted a baby for sale. And I won't say which artist it was, but it was like maybe her fifth or sixth baby. And when I saw the photos of it, I was like, wow, like I cannot believe that is your sixth baby. You know, that baby should be a prototype baby. Like, it was rooted hair, like beautifully painted. It's actually, you know, it was just amazingly done. And I was pretty like blown away. And, you know, so, you know, I think with in her case, you know, she absolutely would be justified in charging a higher price. You know, I think she put a lot of hours into that baby, you know, clearly was aspiring for just a high level of artistry. So I don't think it's necessarily like the number of years you've been doing it, but I do think, you know, the price of the baby should be somewhat correlated to, I guess, the quality of your work. But again, all of it is so subjective. So what might be a beautiful baby to one person, you know, another person might not like as much. You know, painted hair versus rooted hair versus, you know, a lot of modeling, less modeling. You know, do you like, you know, stork bites and things like that? Like, everybody has different preferences. And so, and I think that's what's like really exciting and cool about this art form is there is no one size fits all. The pricing, yes, can be all over the map. You can find a beautifully done baby for, you know, for less money because maybe the artist just doesn't feel confident yet to charge more. And, you know, that might be a great time to buy a baby from that person before they are like a lot more established and their work starts to sell for the bigger dollars. And so that is just definitely something to think about. And I know too, like, you know, one of the artists that I really admire, like, you know, she does not like to do rooted hair or doesn't feel that her rooting is great. So she sticks with painting hair. Her painted hair is amazing. It's extremely well done. And, you know, that's her niche and she, you know, she enjoys that. You know, will her dolls, you know, end up selling for like $2,000? You know, it's hard to say. There's actually one artist, I think it's Joanna Short. She does painted hair babies, and her painted hair is so realistic looking. I've seen her dolls go for $5,000. No joke. So it's not necessarily painted versus rooted hair, but it's just how well is it done. But you know, I know for me personally, I need to learn how to root. You know, right now I've done a few babies with like the combi hair, but I've, you know, done mostly painted hair because that's what I personally enjoy. And, you know, the rooting I feel like is a lot more challenging. I haven't quite figured out yet how to do the micro, you know, like to micro root. You know, my rooting is a little bit pluggy, you know, and stuff like that. So I know that I'm not yet at that level. You know, from a skill perspective, but that's a skill I'd like to learn. I'm thinking of either taking the rooting class at next year's Rose Doll Show or possibly doing, or I might do like the silicone painting class I'm leaning towards doing the silicone painting class. I asked Susan to like hold a spot for me once she releases spots for that, just because that would be just so cool to learn, and just to have the option of like maybe being able to buy a blank silicone kit and paint it. So I think all of us have to start somewhere. I think it's fine to sell your work. I think it's important to disclose any flaws that you know of the baby. And if you guys, saw my listing for Gemma and saw like the 80 photos I posted of her, I tried to show close-ups because she had just a little tiny spot here on her hand, and then just some little like things that looked like flaws when you were zoomed in up close. I made sure to take lots of up close pictures, all angles, so the buyer knew exactly what they were getting, and I charged a very reasonable, very good price for her because I know she wasn't perfect. And so, yeah, but I do think that, and to also answer the other part of the, I guess some of the questions that were raised is, in terms of, do some artists like plateau and then they kind of stop improving or don't seek to improve, or do other artists, versus other artists who are like constantly trying to perfect the craft? That is an interesting question too, because I do think that some artists probably do plateau. I think that's probably the reality. Like they may attempt to keep trying to get better, but they kind of keep improving to a point and then find that it's a little hard to improve like beyond that. And I can totally see that happening, for sure. And I don't think it's something that that anyone should be faulted for. I do also know that some of the ladies who are reborn artists do this, full time as their vocation. And, and I think that sometimes making, really going the route of like striving for the utter perfection down to the last detail can take more time. I think that's the reality of it. If, certain ways of rooting hair might take more time or be more time consuming, for example. And then when they try to factor in the time they're putting into it and how much more they would need to charge to make that time worth it, they may think, gosh, is somebody really going to pay me $1,500 for this baby versus if I don't want to say take a shortcut, but, maybe don't do it to the same degree. Like they might be able to charge $1,000 and have it be worthwhile to them, given the time that they've put into it. It's so hard because once you get to the higher dollar points, there are just fewer buyers at those price points. I think that's just the reality. So I think that there is a balance between like the level of quality and how much detail, how much time you want to spend on each doll versus, the price you're able to charge, for that kit, for the amount of time that you put in. So I do think artists need to think a little bit about, the business side of things, unfortunately. So especially if this is going to be like their vocation. If it's going to be more like a hobby, and for example, let me just take myself, if I decided that the way I paint now, I enjoy it, it's fun for me. I sure, I would love to get better, but I'm not, willing, I may not have like all the hours and time to invest in doing like multiple classes, having the time to read as many tutorials and practice with as many tutorials as I would like. And, my dolls kind of stayed at this level for a little while. Is there anything wrong with that? No, I don't think so. I think it's just, as long as I'm kind of pricing my work accordingly, and as long as there's also a buyer for the price point and for the quality of doll that I'm putting out. I will say that, I do believe what's very important is to, do the basic things like use quality materials on the inside. I did hear of somebody who was selling, super cheap reborns. We're talking like less than $100, but filling the baby with things like kitty litter and, materials that are just not the highest quality. And I do disagree with that. I really don't think that should be acceptable. I think there's a certain base level of acceptability for us to say, yes, this is like, kind of okay, for us to do, as an artist. I just think kitty litter is not, not okay. Or filling a baby with trash, like that is not okay. Like just to cut corner, like majorly cutting corners to just, make the baby as cheap as possible. So I don't believe in that personally. I do stuff my babies with, the top quality materials. I do try to buy the Bountiful Baby kits on sale whenever I can. But I do use like top quality paints. I use Slumberland mohair. I use fine glass beads. I'm not cutting corners at all with like the materials I'm using, but I do know that my skill level is something that I'm continuing to work on with each baby that I do. So it's just something that, I did want to share with regards to that. As I look at these two babies here, I personally like the way that I painted Megan more than how Sabrina came out, although I really love how I did Sabrina's hair. So, there's kind of things you learn with each baby. Sabrina was the first baby that I rooted eyelashes on. I think they turned out pretty good. They're, in terms of the open-eyed babies, rooting eyelashes is so tricky. So for the open-eyed babies, it's not the easiest thing. But like, yeah, but I do, I do want to be somebody who does strive to improve with each baby, but, I'm not sure, that I will be going the rooted hair route until I, have some more practice and I feel like I can get good at it, because I do feel like, rooted hair babies, if it's not done well, can actually be less desirable than a painted hair baby or a bald baby even. And then, you factor in all the time you put in, to make it worthwhile, your rooting really has to be good so you can command the higher price points. And so those are just some of my thoughts in terms of, that particular skill. But, there are a lot of other skills I would love to pick up on and improve. So yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, it's a great topic. I think it's a fantastic point of discussion. I don't want anybody who's new like myself to get discouraged that, oh shoot, like just because my babies are not at like that higher level that I shouldn't sell them. And I think that too, like, again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if a baby doesn't appeal to you, it could very well appeal to somebody else. And so it is really hard to say, oh, that's just like a bad reborn or badly done reborn. I think there's certain obvious things like, if the person's using bad materials, or like, the baby comes to you and it's like clearly like damaged and, stuff like that. Yes, like those kinds of things should not happen. And I think that that's not good when an artist sends a baby looking like that or doesn't package it correctly, things like that. But I do think that for those of us who are newer to the craft, I think it's fine for us to sell our work. And, as long as we, are open about what we perceive to be the flaws, take lots of pictures so the new mommy can see it. And that we do try to, and I think it's important to always be a student and strive to learn new techniques. So my hope is that every year at the Rose Doll Show, I'll be able to take a class and just constantly, improve my techniques and get better and better at what I do. So and I think that's just for my own enjoyment too. I think there's going to be a lot of personal satisfaction to seeing my dolls get better over time. And I'm excited about that. So yeah, but I really, if you guys haven't checked out Ruby Rose, sorry, I think it's Ruby Rose or Ruby Red Reborns. I'm so sorry. It might be Ruby Red Rose Reborns. Her video discussing the topic, it's a really good video, and she does a really good job. Like she draws an analogy with like dog breeding, and so yeah, but it's super interesting. And I think that but yeah, this is a hobby that for me is truly a hobby first and foremost. I hope to sell more babies because, hopefully to help support the hobby. I've definitely at this point spent way more than I've made. I've only sold my first doll to date. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to painting more. And I'm also I just also wanted to say I'm so like, honestly, like kind of floored and honored that some of you guys want me to do painting tutorials, because I feel like I'm still so new. I don't want it to be like the blind leading the blind at this point, but I'll definitely think about it. I don't want to I just don't know that I'm yet at a level to be a teacher to somebody, but I think you guys saw my video about stuffing and weighting the babies, which hopefully was helpful when I put Indy together. But yeah, I mean, I do try to improve, and I do try to watch tutorials. And so, yeah, so that'd be something that would be cool to do in the future. But, as long as you guys know the caveat that, I've only been painting for like 6 months, so I'm still pretty darn new. Anyhow, hopefully this video wasn't like too rambling, and hopefully I was somewhat articulate with my thoughts, but just want to encourage all of you guys who want to try painting. It's so much fun. And whether we call ourselves a hobbyist or call ourselves an artist, I don't think it super matters. I think it's more, there are different buyers at different price points. Different buyers prefer different things in their babies, and what you might perceive to be a baby with tons of flaws might be a baby that is just forever treasured and loved by a mommy that adopts her, and a mommy that's grateful to have the chance to adopt a $300 baby, because they'll never be able to afford a $1,000 or $1,500 prototype quality reborn, or those prototypes sometimes go in the thousands. Like, I think there's there's like the Liam prototype by Bonnie Brown, beautiful, beautiful baby on eBay. I think, with like 8 days left of the auction, I want to say is already in the thousands. And so it's just so crazy, how high some of these prices get. So yeah, so I don't know. I personally think one shouldn't be discouraged at, trying to sell their work even as a beginner. And yes, we should all pay our dues. And yes, I'm not going to be coming in and saying, cool, I'm going to post Sabrina on eBay and list her for like, $800 and see if she sells. Like, I don't think she would sell at that price. And so I just don't think that's realistic. And I'd be like wasting a listing fee. But I think it's up to us artists to be, somewhat self-aware. But yeah, I do think that's all I really wanted to say about the topic, and I would definitely love to hear your comments. Feel free to make a video, continue the discussion. I really enjoy discussion topics like these, where we can chat about things in the community. And hope you enjoyed seeing my two babies. I'll just kind of hold them up here for a little. Hold them up so you can see them a little bit better. So this is Megan. Oh my gosh, she's so sweet. I love this baby. This is actually Audrey's favorite of my reborns that I've done for her. And then this is baby Sabrina. And I should have brought like baby Avery or Aaron, who are the number 1 and number 2 babies I painted, just so you guys could see like the progression and how, just kind of how much they've improved over time. But yeah, I'm really happy with both of these babies, how they turned out. I know Sabrina, like, as I'm looking at her now, I'm kind of thinking, I would probably want to blush her just a little bit more. And I was painting her using, like, diluting with distilled water, with kind of 1 part paint, 1 part thinner, 2 parts distilled water. And then when I went to the Rose Doll Show class and took the class with Cher with her paints, I was amazed that she does more like 1-to-1-to-1 for the washes, and most of the layers are just 1-to-1 with no distilled water. So you can get a more rich effect with fewer layers. And I was like, oh, like that's so super cool. And also just having like the right sponges makes a huge difference in terms of some of the skin depth and the mottling. So yeah, so that was just so cool for me to feel like I learned some new techniques. Yeah, I would probably just get bored if all my babies kind of came out looking identical, like each one after the other. So yeah, so I am interested in experimenting. I'd love to do another AA baby. I want to try doing an Asian baby someday soon too. So all right, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you'll like and subscribe, share this with your friends, and click the bell for more videos. And I thank you so much for watching. All right, have a great day. Bye.